A California deli exchanging food for American silver eagles. We know there's also a challenge in the supply side in 90% silver right now. What is this telling us about the precious metals markets? Today, we're joined by Daniel Diaz from Citizens for Sound Money. We're going to cover that and a lot more. Hey, Daniel, thanks for joining us today on the live stream.
Absolutely.
Great to see you. So what do you think about this? Let's dive right in to a California deli. Here's a sign, excuse me, on their window. Bring your silver eagles. We now accept 1 ounce American silver eagle coins, $10 over spot price. What do you make of this?
I think it's genius. I mean, he's exchanging food for silver, and he's already making a profit on the food, and then he's giving you $10 over spot, which is right now $39 or $40. So yeah, basically you're getting 2 sandwiches or maybe a sandwich and a half for a silver eagle. I think it's awesome. I think it's smart. I think this is the way the entire country and world is heading, getting back to sound money, because the dollar, why don't I use the quote from that song, Richmond north of Richmond, but you know what I'm going to say, the dollar is monopoly money. And it's time that we get back to sound money, because sound markets require it. A sound economy requires sound money, and right now it's anything but sound.
Yeah, it's an interesting prospect. It's actually also coincidentally just down the street from a coin shop. Now, this story was broke by a friend of my channel, a Pound of Gold YouTube channel. So I want to give him credit on that. And he actually took these pictures. I'm going to run out real quickly and show people where they can check out this story. This is the Pound of Gold YouTube channel. And don't go now, but later on, here's where he broke the story: a store swapping food for silver. And to me, it's pretty fascinating what's going on out there these days, that we have actual people willing, businesses willing, and that's, to me, that's the, I know that there's a lot of businesses around the country that are starting to take, but that's the first time that I've seen somebody like kind of randomly run into it. And I tried like a year ago. I made a video where I called a bunch of Chinese restaurants in St. Louis, because I figured I knew Chinese people love precious metals, and I kept asking, could I pay with American Silver Eagle, and even then they were saying no. So I think this shows that we're starting to get some percolation, and it is interesting that it's right down the pike from a coin store. Another one of my viewers, Big Tim Silvershire, he brought up the point: could we be trading grains of gold? He had a trivia question for the audience. Wrong one. Hold on here. Let me go back. Okay. Well, of course I screwed this one up. Well, Big Tim Silvershire, somewhere here, I put out the question. I think there's 480 grains in an ounce. Does that make sense to you, Daniel?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And I have here this is 1/4 grain of gold. Let me put that up there for people to see. That's a tiny, that's how small.
Yeah.
And that came from Benchmark Strategic Metals. They make these little cards with different size, like, very, very small fractional amounts of gold and silver. So it's interesting. You think about, Daniel, what's going on in the economy, right? And are we moving toward the situation where things could get really hairy and people would need to use silver and gold just to conduct their everyday transactions?
Yeah, I think that fractional metal, fractional gold and silver, will be something that we'll use again. Grains, though, I mean, it's tough. Plus, grains have a very high premium, and you can't really sell them back with the exact same premium that you purchased. I'm more, when it comes to physical gold and silver, I'm more inclined to purchase metal near spot, or metals that maintain their premium. The most fractionally reserved premium is fractionally reserved gold It is a gold back, and it actually maintains its premium. And then I would say, like, my favorites, I just wrote an article about the top 5 coins new stackers and gold should purchase. Number one's the Krugerrand, because you can get them for very little over spot. Sometimes you can get them as little as $10 to $15 over spot. Then I would say fractional British sovereigns, which is probably the most recognizable fractional coin out there. That they have a pretty decent premium for how small they are. And then I would say the best fractional coin are francs, the 20 francs. I mean, you can get them for as little as $5 to $10 over spot. And when it comes to gold, yeah. When it comes to silver, I mean, you got the 1/10 ounce rounds out there, the Buffaloes. You have 1 10 ounce rounds. The silver guy in New Hampshire, a Silver Dave. So
Yeah.
I definitely think
You
fractional.
can also get 1/10 ounce silver British Britannias.
Yes, yes.
And I know I bought some from my channel sponsor, Pimbex, and there's a premium on those, a higher premium, the 1/10 ounce coins, but they come in a little container, a
Yeah.
little tube, and people call them lipstick, like a lipstick container. So
Yeah, you know what? Where's my? I'm looking for my tube. I have a stack of 1/10 ounce rounds also, but I don't
yeah,
know where it's at.
they're not a good idea if you're like seriously trying to build ounces of silver. But if you want something potentially you could use for barter at some point, or to me, honestly, it was more, I just like really small things. It was more of a novelty type thing, and
Yeah,
they're really cool, and it's neat to have this little tube. So it's an interesting. When we look at the economy, I know recently we've heard Big Lots, the company Big Lots, might be
yeah.
claiming bankruptcy. We
What?
heard,
I did not hear
yeah,
that.
yeah, Big Lots might be claiming. On top of that, yesterday, Dollar General, right? Their stock tanked. At one point, it was down 25% because their sales are crashing. It feels like the economy, especially for the everyday person, is becoming more and more challenging every day.
100%. I mean, where it's all stems to inflation and irresponsible deficit spending and printing more currency, and it's reverberating throughout the entire economy. They are doing their best to hide the real numbers. They're doing their best to hide the statistics that we are really in a recession. And people are hurting. I mean, I use this statistic all the time: 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
I mean, and very few have $1,000 to their name. That it's a sad state of affairs. And historically, when you look when they at what are the metrics for upheaval and revolution, typically it's when 40% of the person's monthly income is used, 40% or more is used for food.
hmm
When that threshold is hit, we start seeing unrest, we start seeing revolution. That's what happened during the Arab Spring. It was a 40% uh, 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 throughout the Arab world. It was 40% food inflation. I mean, during the French Revolution, same thing. Bolshevik Revolution. Every single time that there is an inflation of 40% or higher, when it comes to median income and the food that you purchase, I mean, it speaks to the problem with the country and
yeah,
the instability.
yeah, yeah. Here's an article. 2/3 of Americans now believe that the American dream is unattainable. I saw another, I don't know if this refers to the same data set, but it was Wall Street Journal. Yeah, here it is, right? Today, 2/3 of us believe that the American dream is unattainable. That is a searing indictment of a system that is coming apart at the seams right in front of our eyes. Now, that's a kind of a dramatic statement, but if the system is indeed coming apart right before our eyes, maybe we'll be wise to have some silver and gold
Oh yeah.
stored up for purposes of conducting our day-to-day everyday lives.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that you should look. Ideally, the best bang for your buck when it comes to stacking metals. Like I see an ounce as the median. Anything over an ounce should be lower premiums. Anything under an ounce is higher premiums. So use that 1 ounce coin as your standard, and then know that once you go below or above, the premiums are going to change. But definitely when it comes to day to day spending, you can't. I mean, unless you're trying to buy a very expensive TV or something, use a gold coin. ounce to pay for it. But fractionally, you can use 1/10 ounce rounds with the premium if they take it for premium. You can use gold backs. You can use 1/5 ounce rounds like Citizen Sound Money. We have our own 1/5 ounce rounds. We're currently out, but you can still find them out there. There's some dealers and so forth that have them. But yeah, I mean, definitely we're getting to a point where I'm getting calls regularly, people asking me, for advice on what they should put their currency into, their economic energy. And I'm like, gold and silver. I always tell people, so if you're going to stack and you're going to preserve your wealth, I recommend an 80-20 split, 80% gold, 20% silver, just because gold has beaten inflation time and time over the last since 1999, when the gold was around $250 an ounce. We've had an 850% increase, almost 1,000 10x increase in the price of gold. It's beaten the S&P 500. It's beaten the Dow Jones, the stock market. I mean, it's definitely
it beat the biggest market in the world, which is the bond market. Right?
Yeah,
the bond market's
it's tanking right now. The bond market,
Yeah.
and our economy is in a triple bubble. The American economy has three legs. It's the stock market, the real estate market, and the bond market. And we have a bubble in the stock market, which we've always had since 1913, when the Federal Reserve started printing currency and pumping into the stock market. That was always a concern for those who were against the Federal Reserve. The stock market went in another bubble, which is normal. Now we're in a real estate bubble, because in 2008 they nationalized Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and it added an item to the menu of the Federal Reserve to pump new currency into. So they're pumping new currency into mortgage-backed securities, and now we're in a bubble with with our debt instruments, the bond market, because nobody wants to buy our bonds. They're getting rid of the dollar. So the Federal Reserve, as a lender of last resort, is pumping and buying all these bonds and treasury notes with brand new currency. So we're in some major financial issues. And
think about this, Daniel, as you talked about the situation with the bond market. When nobody wants our bonds, nobody wants to buy our bonds, that means that the price of the bonds goes down. And there's an inverse relationship, to fancy accounting speak, between bond prices and interest rates. That means the interest rate, basically, if the U.S. government is going to want to sell bonds, they're going to have to pay a higher interest rate, right? And then that higher interest rate makes a bigger interest expense, which adds more to the federal debt. And it's a spiral. I mean, I don't want to be negative, but it's a spiral. It's not a good thing. It's not a pretty picture, Yeah,
we're borrowing money to pay interest on currency that we borrowed, right? And then we're borrowing more currency to pay the interest on that currency, and then rinse, repeat. It's an endless cycle. We don't bring in enough of revenue through taxation to cover our spending. And if we don't cut spending drastically by 40%, 40-50%, we're never going to be able to pay down the debt. And I don't think we are ever going to pay down. I think we're going to have a hyperinflationary event. I think in October, when BRICS meets and they start discussing the currency that they're all going to start using for swaps amongst their central banks, I think gold might be a part of that portfolio, along with all the local currencies. And they're going to get rid of the dollar, and it's going to be where are those dollar going to go once they start getting rid of our debt notes? Come back to the United States and what is it? How's the saying go? The turkey comes home to roost.
The hens come home to roost.
Hens come home to roost. There you go. So,
well, and at the end of the day, isn't the only option really that the Fed will have in their disposal would be to print more money? It's like Japan did, right? You just print money to buy your own debt and it just become, but the net end result of all that is devaluation, dilution of the currency. There's no other way for it to work out. I think we may have another guest here. Let me see if we can pull. Hello, Coin Shop Chris, can you hear us?
How you doing, guys?
We're doing good. How you doing?
I'm having issues this morning.
No worries. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, buddy. Yeah, we're here. We're here with Daniel Diaz. This is the one and only. Daniel and I were talking about just kind of what's going on out there, the potential for what could happen in the system. Daniel's got a few more minutes to stay here with us, but we're going to kind of pivot our conversation to talk about is we're talking about silver and gold and using it every day to this idea that we're seeing massive demand and challenge in the market for 90% silver.
Yeah.
And I think that is a harbinger, a signpost of what's to come. I mean, because I've got a page of notes. I just was talking with Mike, one of the owners at Pimbex, about his input and what he sees going on in the 90% market. And he brought up a great point. Like, there's only so much 90% silver out there right now. And when we look back to what happened during the little banking crisis a year and a half ago, when we saw premiums skyrocket on 90%, that if there's any part of the market, and this is more me saying this, that I think could act as a signpost of what we could see in the future for the silver and the gold market, it would be the 90% market. Because right now what we're seeing is high stress in that market, and also challenges for coin dealers to get inventory. And Chris, Coin Shop Chris, is a lover of 90% silver.
I am. You can see that.
Yeah. Chris, what are you seeing out there in the 90% market right now?
Well, it depends where. I guess it really depends where you're in the country. I mean, where I'm at, we're having a very hard time sourcing this stuff right now. The owner of the shop has gone to pawn shops to get it. We have called other coin shops to get this stuff. And depending what coin shops you're looking at, it's getting dicey out there with some, and some are very plentiful at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting, from us at the shop, it's really a dire situation, because it seems like everybody wants it right now. 10 years ago, that wasn't the case, guys. Mm-hmm. That was not the case 10 years ago. I mean, nobody wanted. People thumb their nose at it. They call it, they basically just didn't want it, But now, for barterable situations that we may be getting into, I think it's a big plus to have as much as you can afford to get.
Yeah. Yeah. The when I was talking with Mike this morning, he kind of brought up this idea that it feels like a lot of the coin shops out there are buying it, but they're keeping it for themselves because they know that they can sell it. And that sounds like what you're saying as well, Chris. Like, it's not going up to the and I'm not super well versed in the intricacies of the silver and gold bullion markets, but it's not going up to the wholesale level. It's more being kind of eaten up all at the local coin shop level. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And another point I want to make, Ron, is you see a pile of it in front of me. This didn't take one day to stack. Okay, this took many years for me to stack this. Mm-hmm. A few here, a few there. I mean, it don't, just don't judge anybody else's stack. It takes time to stack this stuff, because now, a silver dime, I don't know if you got the link I sent you this morning, Ron, but a silver dime is roughly going over about $2.23. A silver quarter is melting for $5.39, and a $0.50 over $10.58 or so. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's at melt value. This is getting very difficult to, stack at some of these prices, because a lot of this stuff I got cheaper than the current melt value. That's why I always say cost average is key.
Yeah.
If you can just click on the silver quarters, Ron.
The silver quarters. Where
Washington silver quarters. Towards the top. Right underneath the. Go back. Go back to the top.
I'm back at the top.
Do you see dimes? You see Washington silver quarters?
Barber quarter?
No, Washington.
No, Washington quarter.
It really don't matter. It really don't matter in this case.
What line down is it? I don't see Washington quarter.
It's $5.32 if you scroll up. Right there.
Okay. Oh, Washington quarter, right in front of my face.
Just click on that. Now scroll down a little bit. Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
You see where it says calculator there?
Yes.
Here, the $58 of the silver quarters in this jug here, in this pill.
So that's 116.
That's 232.
My math, 232. Thank you, Coin Shop Chris.
And just go ahead and calculate that.
That's $1,200.
Wow.
Yeah. And that one little medicine or vitamin, it's really a vitamin bottle. Yes.
Okay.
That's how I stack them. I don't buy the tubes, the plastic tubes. You know, I use that savings to buy more metals.
Yeah.
That's how
And
I stack them.
just so our viewers know, that's the NGC coin website, NGC coin website. Very interesting. Very interesting. Chris, we're going to talk more about the 90% market, because if there's one guy who is the absolute king of junk silver, 90% silver, it's Coin Shop Chris. He talks about it on his channel. He knows more about it than anyone. He's the king. He's like the Fred Sanford of junk silver. So we're going to talk more about that. But Daniel's only got a few more minutes to be here with us. I wanted to touch on to kind of zoom out further to this idea of digitization of gold and silver. Daniel, are you seeing any interesting developments in that arena, or any general thoughts on this idea of digitization of silver and gold?
Absolutely. You know, I get calls frequently, especially as of the last few months, of people asking for advice, as I mentioned earlier. And when it comes to accessibility to their money, you know, they don't necessarily want to put it in gold and silver coins. They don't want to buy, you know, a bunch of silver ounces. So they ask if there's any digital solutions, and there are there's actually quite a few digital solutions. You have companies like Kinesis, you have companies like Glint, Load, Oris. These are all asset-backed digital currency companies, or companies that use a database to keep track of the fractional amount of gold and silver. And companies like Glint right now have a debit card in the U.S. where you can ACH or use your debit card to buy gold, and then you can preserve your purchasing power or preserve your economic energy by converting your currency to money, and then you spend it like a daily with your debit card. You know, and people are moving, people who have large amounts of money, who are afraid of what's going to happen with the stock market, because historically, if you look at the 120 140 year chart of the Federal Reserve, and when they lower interest rates, there is typically not a collapse, but a fall in the stock market. But typically it lasts, you know, 3 months in the short end to several years, and every single time. And they're planning on doing 2 rate cuts, 75 basis points on September and October. So people are wanting to know, where can they put their money? And you can put them in companies like Kinesis, or if you're in the stock market, you can buy stocks like the Sprott S is it
PSLV.
PSLV, and their gold PH.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the gold one, but I know the physical silver, Sprott physical silver, is PSLV.
Right. So if you don't want to get out, if you have your money in an IRA, then if you want to protect it, you can put it in those 2 stocks. They're backed 1-to-1 with Canadian 400-ounce bars for gold, and I think kilo bars for silver. So they'll allocate a percentage of that, and they take a small management fee. But I mean, people are definitely putting their gold and silver and protecting it electronically, because they're just not used to the physical aspect of it. That us, you know, stackers, I consider myself a stacker now. Because I'm collecting the physical side when I first started with digital. But yeah, 100%. And you can, and some of these companies like One Gold, Rush Gold, Vaulted, you can get a debit card with these, and these are also database companies as well.
Yeah, and just because we're talking about the digitization of silver and gold, that does not won't stop any of us from continuing to stack whatever silver, physical silver or gold that we want to have on our person. It would only serve to make to give an option to both us and to a lot of other people to use gold and silver in a more functional manner for everyday transactions. And I think also the big, you know, what I think a lot of stackers are afraid of digitization of gold and silver. Well, digitization of the physical asset, if it's backed 100%, is a good thing. And if it makes it much more functional, it could result in a massive wave of demand for physical metals as well, because those digital representations have to be backed up by real physical metal.
Yeah. Well, and almost every case, right? For these companies, a lot of these companies use bail-lee relationships or a bailment, where meaning that they don't own the gold and silver. The minute you buy it, it's yours. They're just warehousing it. But remember, there's paper gold and paper silver, where you don't actually, you're buying futures contracts. You're not actually buying the underlying asset like when you buy a Sprott if you're in the stock market. So, but yeah, 100%. I mean, I know a lot of people, if you don't have it in your hand, you don't own it. Yeah, there's third-party risk. I mean, there's third-party risk even when you have a lot of metal in your house, right? I mean, I was watching a YouTube video recently, I think it was Silver Dragon, where somebody broke into one of his supporters' homes, and somebody cut open a very expensive safe and stole over $100,000 worth of gold and silver right out of his house. And I mean, there is always a third party risk, even when you have it in your own home and a very expensive safe.
Yeah. Daniel, I know you have to get running here. I'm going to run out to your website. You're the executive director of
Citizens
for Sound Money. There we are. I got there. This is their website, and you have a membership deal now. This is a newer situation. Is that correct?
So you can become, we just launched this in March. You can become a member of Citizens Sound Money for $25 a year, or if you want to get an ounce of digital silver, if you donate $100 or more with your membership and your KYC with the Kinesis exchange, we will send you, once your KYC, a free ounce of Kinesis silver if you donate more than $100. And what are the benefits? Well, you'll get monthly video updates on our legislative efforts. You'll get our newsletter, which we do weekly to every 2 weeks. And you will also get access to an app which
why I'm having so much trouble connecting.
Hey, Chris, we can hear you, Chris.
Oh.
Hold on. That's Do you want me to mute you, Chris, or are you okay? You're on.
I'm good.
Chris. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Daniel. I apologize.
No worries. And one of the great benefits is there's an app you can use that's exclusive to membership called Metal Markup. If you join, you'll get access to it, and it will. And here's the thing: when you join at the national level, that we're gonna update our membership form so you can put your state, so that when we start launching state chapters, you'll be a member of your state C4SM. So Texas, Citizens Sound Money, Florida, whatever, or Missouri, Citizens Sound Money. And then we will train you on grassroots activism. We will activate you to come lobby with us when we're ready to lobby in your state. And we'll also teach you on how to talk to your legislators and be a citizen lobbyist for the Sound Money movement. So if you are not a member of Citizens Sound Money and want to join and support the cause and be a part of a movement that's trying to change not just the country but the world, go ahead and join Citizens Sound Money for $25. And if you want a free digital ounce, give $100 or more.
Sounds good, Daniel. Hey, thank you for joining us. Safe travels to you. I know you're heading out for a while, so safe travels, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, and if any of you live in New Hampshire, I am going to be speaking at the Free State Bitcoin and Digital Assets Conference this weekend on September 1st on Sunday. So if you're in the area and you want to come hear me speak or meet me, come out to the FSBDAC conference.
To see Daniel, the dynamic speaker. He may even be in a tuxedo, right?
I might be in a tuxedo, maybe. You'll find out. I'll definitely have a hat on, but what hat?
Right, that's right. All right, buddy. Safe travels. Right. Thank you.
Later.
See you, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. See you, Chris. Bye.
Bye.
Coin Shop Chris. Hello.
How are we doing, Ron?
We're doing great. Now we need to talk about 90% silver, because it is a harbinger for things to come. I'm hearing from many different angles that there is, at minimum, we can say, a challenge for a lot of people to source it. I think we can say that it's a stressed market at this point, and I think it's a sign for what's happening, what we could see coming down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing a few people come into the shop, newer people coming into the shop, and that's what they're really after right now, is 90%, or they're really collecting 1 ounce rounds of bars, Ron. I mean, that is what they're staying away from the Eagles right now because they're too much of a premium on them. I'm seeing a few more people buying silver maple leaf. I'm not seeing a lot of gold going out the door. You know, I'm
Okay.
just not seeing that right now. You know, we have one restaurant in town that he is stacking, you know, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 at a time in 90% silver. She is willing to accept, starting in November 1st, Ron, silver for her restaurant. She's going down
Interesting.
that path too.
Interesting.
Yes.
It sounds like, you know, I had a long talk with Michael, one of the owners at Pimbex this morning. He said the 90% market is very, very hot. He actually said white hot. He talked about how this earlier this month, right, beginning of August, we had this the Japanese situation, the yen carry trade. We had silver drop down, and the overall demand really spiked during that period. I mean, really spiked, right? We saw a big uptick in demand for silver and gold, and that things have now kind of leveled off into the end of the month, but that the demand or the market for 90% is still pretty much white hot. I love that word, white hot. He said the biggest demand that they're seeing is for dimes, especially the Roosevelt dimes, and then from there quarters, and then from there half dollars. And, you know, I want to pull up a comment from one of our viewers. I always encourage our viewer who's joining us today, Chris, and thank you for joining us, guys. Please subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Coin Shop Chris's channel, and give us some thumbs up. Super chats are always super appreciated. But I want to go out and show a comment that I pulled from I don't know what. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm not going to pull up that. I'm going to pull it up in a. I forgot that I pulled up the wrong.
I lost you.
At the stage. Okay, can you hear me now, everybody? Chris? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Did we lose Coin Shop Chris? I hope not. All right. What the viewer said was that he pointed out examples of different times throughout the years where he had bought and sold junk silver, and it pointed out like 4 times where he'd made a lot of money. And he said, this time's different. I'm not selling. I'm absolutely not selling. Like I said, we're hearing from Mike over at Pimbex that this market for 90% is very, and I use the word challenging, stressed. I won't say there's a shortage yet, but again, you know, I think it's an important segment of the silver market that shows us what we could have coming down the road. It is challenging to find. It is a finite, right? They're not making any more. He, you know, we joked around. He joked around, said, "I wish they were making more." It would, you know, it would probably make his life as a bullion dealer much, much easier. Guys, the other big news story that we got this morning was inflation. Let's go out to Pimbex and take a look at an update on the gold and silver price, because we were under a little bit of stress this morning. This is about a half hour old data. So we're going to press the Pimbex magic button and see what we get for the gold price. Come on. Okay. Down $10. We're still above 2,500 in gold, $2,510 silver, fighting to hold on to $29 per ounce. If you want to get your hands on some silver, gold, or even 90% silver before what we all anticipate could be a big run up in price, right? Not giving financial advice. Nobody has a crystal ball, but if you are looking for silver, gold, or platinum group, do yourself a favor. Check out channel sponsor Pimbex. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. I worked with them before they sponsored Ron's Basement. I actually learned about the company from you guys, from basement dwellers who told me, hey, you should check out this company, Pimbex. Always had a great experience with Pimbex. I think you will too. What I like about them is they always have ultra competitive prices. Okay, they got a great selection, and it's a company I can trust. I don't have to run around to 20 different websites and then try to find a good price and then try to research this company and read all the reviews. I just know for me it's a great one-stop shop. And boy, when you get the package in the mail from Pimbex, you can always rest assured that it's going to be packed up like Fort Knox. Okay, and because you got a great price, the package you get will be just a little bit heavier. All right, let's go over this 90% silver. Guys, we got to remember this is silver. Okay. At the end of the day, whether you like junk silver, 90% silver or not, it is silver. They aren't making any more of it. The premiums did skyrocket the last time that we had a little stress in the market during the little banking crisis that you may remember that we had back about 16 months ago. Some people think it's good for barter. One of the interesting things that I like about 90% silver also is that while it's 90% silver, 90% of Americans don't even know about it or understand it. And if things do get very challenging in the economy and more of the sheeple, the average American people decide that they want to get their hands on some silver, those quarters, those dimes, those 50-cent pieces will look very, very recognizable. They'll be very comfortable with them, right? You put a silver Krugerrand in their hand, they're going to say, what's this? I've never seen this guy before. But you put a Washington quarter from 1961 or 1954, it's going to look and feel familiar to them, okay? I think we lost our friend Coin Shop Chris again. So I'm going to run through this. Oh, hey, please, guys, big news. Big news. Don't forget, this is your last chance. Tomorrow, August 31st at the 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, Saturday, August 31st live stream, we're going to be giving away these 16 ounces of silver. Look over on the side. I'll show you. Here's the 10-ounce bar. It's real. It's here, and it will be given away tomorrow. One person will win all 16 ounces. Again, during the 10 a.m. live stream, Central Time, on Saturday, tomorrow, August 31st. If you want to enter the giveaway, one entry per person, you can go to the description of this video when we're done, and there's a link where you can go and register for the giveaway. Let's just go over this morning probably why the gold and silver prices are being hit. We had the PCE inflation numbers that came out. The Commerce Department reported that the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index rose 0.2% on the month and was up 2.5% from the same period a year ago. So year on year, prices are up 2.5%, exactly in line with the Dow Jones consensus estimate. Excluding volatile food and energy prices, core PCE, which is what apparently the Fed really watches, also increased 0.2% for the month, but was up 2.6 from a year ago. The 12-month figure was slightly softer. So the inflation numbers did come in right about where expected, maybe a little bit lower. In theory, that should have been a little bit positive for the silver and gold price. But what we're seeing, and we're going to go back out and check again at the Pimbex website here in a second, but what we're seeing is a bit of a drawdown in silver and gold this morning. What's happening right now is we are in this big, when it comes to the silver and gold price, and we always are going to look at everything through that lens of the silver and gold price because that's what we like to talk about. But everything's kind of in limbo-ish with the Fed. People are pretty sure, absolutely sure almost, that the Fed is going to lower rates by at least 0.25 percentage point in September at the September meeting. And we need to look at a calendar that may just be here in the next few weeks. But there's this debate, will the Fed lower rates even more, the 0.5%? Last I'd heard there was like a 70% chance that we'd get a quarter point rate reduction and about a 30% chance that we would get a 0.5 percentage point downward adjustment in the Fed rate through their monetary policy decision. We're in this state of limbo. We're getting all this information, the economy's soft landing, and, we had GDP numbers this week, and now we get these inflation numbers that are right in line with expectations, of course. And then we had the unemployment continuing claims number yesterday, which indicated that the labor market, what we were hoping, we don't want people to lose their jobs, but what we were hoping for was an actual accurate number because we know how skewed their numbers are. And we didn't, what we got was a number that showed that the labor market was rather strong. Now we got to ask this question, right? Do we believe the numbers that they told us yesterday about the job market, right? Because don't forget, Don't forget, there's 818,000 Americans out there who have imaginary jobs, right? Because we learned just last week that the Bureau of Labor and Statistics adjusted the number of jobs that they thought they had created from March of 2023 through March of 2024. They reduced it down, like, oh, we made a mistake. We over-reported how many jobs were created by 818,000. So go talk to those 818,000 Americans who don't have a job, who don't have any money. Even if they did, they couldn't afford, because like we talked earlier, right? Companies like Big Lots are claiming bankruptcy. What was the other one? The Dollar General is like, the stock like cratered yesterday because their sales were down and their profits were down. Dollar General. Look, I love those types of stores. You know, I'm a tightwad, right? There's a Dollar General that we go to when we're down in Orange Beach. I don't have any around here, but that's where a lot of the core, like lower middle America goes to get a lot of their products. What does it tell us about the health of the economy that those companies are shrinking? I think we've got Coin Shop Chris back again. Chris, are you going to make another cameo appearance?
I'm trying to learn the StreamYard stuff, Ron. I got my camera turned the right way for you all now.
Man,
Sorry
you're on
about
top
that.
of it. You're all right. You're on top of it, brother. So once again, we have Coin Shop Chris, the king of junk silver, the king of constitutional silver, right, Chris? I mean, you love that stuff. What are your thoughts
I love it,
about?
Ron.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I love it. I mean,
Everybody wants it.
it seems like everybody wants it now. I mean, just, we were just talking just before it, a few years ago, nobody wanted it, Ron. They said, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And, I kept playing the case, it's the best value that you're bang for your buck. When we were in the banking crisis, this stuff went up almost nearly 35 times face, Ron. I mean, that was insane to see that. Some places were up to 40 times face. I remember, I'm seeing online, some online bullion dealers were charging $40 for $2.50. It was insane. I mean, then it seemed like, I don't know where all the inventory came back into the marketplace, but this, it seems like it's just drying up once again. I was listening to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, no, Mike from Pimbex brought up a great point. Like, it's finite, right? I mean, it's silver. It's kind of double finite, right? Because there's only so much silver in the world. But on top of that, when it comes to those coins minted during those periods, there's only so much in. Hey, thank you, Silvershire. Wow, what a super chat. That's awesome. Thank you, my friend. I was supposed to show a quote from Silvershire, but I forgot to load all the stuff up. Back to my thought. It's finite. Silver is finite. On top of that, the 90% silver is finite. It's very recognizable to Americans. Okay. And Mike, I think it's funny. He joked when he said this. He said it's finite. He said, I wish they were making more of it, because I think it would make his life a lot easier. Right. But they're not making any more of it. And what do you think about this, Chris? Do they call it 90% silver because 90% of Americans have no idea what it is?
No, it's made out of 90% silver and 10% copper. And,
right.
Mike's right, because I was looking at Pimbex a couple of weeks ago. The last 2 weeks, they were out. They got it back in stock. The Roosevelt dimes I'm talking about. They have great prices. As of 7 a.m., maybe you can pull up their site, Ron. As of 7:56 a.m. on the East Coast, their 10-face bag of silver quarters was $231.20. The dimes they finally got back in. They were $115.70 for a roll of $5 face bag.
Yeah. And
$half for Franklin's were $23.56 for $1 face. Those are some gosh darn good prices. I mean, if you can get it between right now 22 and 25 times face, you're really doing yourself good. If you can get it at melt, even better. I've been hearing that, at melt, that's even a better price.
So I pulled up. Can you see the screen right now, Chris?
Yes.
I pulled up hopefully you can see the Pimbex website. They're 90%. So like a 90% American Franklin $half. Some of our viewers may not know this. So if you buy 2 of these, right, that's $1. That's what the FV stands for. That makes $1 a face value. You buy 2 50-cent pieces, you're going to pay as low as that's the cash price at volume, $22.16. Okay.
Right. That's if you buy more than like 20 lots.
Right. And you're paying with like an ACH payment, that type of thing.
Correct.
But so you're getting for one, you buy 2 of them, that's $1 face value, and you are getting 0.715 ounces of silver, correct?
For $1. I mean,
for $1, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and that counts for any quarters and dimes also. The easiest way to calculate this for me, any $1.40 face, so a $1.40 face in 90% silver equals to 1 ounce of silver.
Right. That's kind of 6 or 1/2 dozen the other. But if it's $1 face, if it's 4 quarters, 10 dimes, 2 50-cent pieces, or if it's 1 50-cent piece with 5 dimes, that's $1 face value. You get 0.71, a little under 3/4 of an ounce of actual silver, which is why the price is lower right now than what the spot price is on silver. Correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And they're not making any more of this stuff, right? There's always a chance. I know for a while there, what were those things I was buying? 50 cent. I was buying this, 65 to 69, 40%.
You were buying the 40%, yes.
Yeah, that's a whole different, I mean, we won't even get into that, and there's some, wow. So that's like $100 face value bag of Washington quarters that you showed earlier, right? Right there.
Right. Yeah.
So it takes 4 of those to make that $1 face value.
That's
but I always like the other thing I like about this is obviously because they're not making anymore, but also because it could become collectible at some point, right? People say it's junk, blah blah blah. Well, it could. There's always a chance. I'm not giving financial advice. A chance that it could become kind of a numismatic type thing, right? I mean, you never know.
It's something like this, Ron. I'm not sure my camera's going to pick this up. I'm going to try.
Yeah, I can see it. Here, I'll put you
these are almost like a BU coin here. I'm trying to get my camera here.
Move it more for you all. Your camera on there it is. Yeah, right. We can see
those are some BU ones, and they normally book a bit more. But some of these, when you order these through online deals like Pimbex, you will find some of these like.
Okay, we lost Coin Shop Chris again. Well, hey guys, you know what? I think we're let's see if we can get him back. We'll give him another shot here. Hello, Chris. Can you hear us? We can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right, and this, I mean, I bought rolls from online deals before, and sometimes you get a lot, a mixed bag of BUs or, not so much BUs, circulated rolls too. I mean, if you get some BUs, they're worth a little bit more because they're in better shape. So you may want to put those ones on the side, put them in another jug. That's how I try to separate the, especially the halves. I love the Franklins. I love the walk-ins. A lot of problems with the walk-ins. They got a little bit of wear on them. There are some BUs, even your Barbara halves have some wear on them. I just stack, normally what I stack is the Washington silver quarters, the Franklin halves, and the Roosevelt dimes. That is what I go into.
You brought up a great point, Chris, that I think I want to cover. I want to share this with our viewers. It's very critical for them to understand if they do decide to buy 90%, or some people call it constitutional, some people call it junk, right? Like you're the Fred Sanford of junk silver, all right? The king,
that's right.
The king of junk, Coin Shop Chris. But another important thing for people to remember is that when you buy it, you're buying old coins. So unless you're buying coins that are being represented to you as being uncirculated, or they're graded somehow as being higher grade, you're going to get coins that are worn, right? I think that surprises some people. if you're buying just the junk, you know, the 90% silver, and you're not paying any type of premium to get, like, you know, better grade coins, you're going to get coins that are likely they were used for decades and decades, and they'll be worn down. You may not see feathers and eagles. You may not see, you know, hair in George Washington or something like that. So what you're buying is really the silver content. But again, you know, they're not making any more of it.
Well, you may not remember this, Ron, and I know I was not even born yet, but in 1973, parts of this country had gas lines because of the oil embargo, and there was lines at the gas stations just for these gas stations to take silver coinage only. There was special lines. Are we going to see that day again? That really could happen. You know, I would love to see the day we actually trading 90% silver, junk silver, constitution silver, what anybody wants to call it, in trade, in stores. And it's, you know, you made post about it. You said it this morning, Ron. There's a deli shop in California that is willing to take silver for trade, you know, for a sandwich. I think that's great. I think more businesses, and that's where it's going to start, with the small businesses. And when the biggest outlet stores see that, you know, they're going to small businesses, these bigger stores might pick up on this. I think that's great, Ron. I think that's great. I mean,
you see that on the screen? Bring your silver eagles. We now accept 1 ounce American Silver Eagle coins, $10 over spot price. So I guess the way I would understand, this is a deli in California. The story was broke by our friend Pound of Gold YouTube channel. But basically, you bring your American Silver Eagle in to that deli, and as I would understand it, you can buy basically $40 worth of food with that money. Right now, his cost on that food might be 10 or 15 bucks. Whatever. I mean, it's a win-win situation, I guess. No matter how you look at it.
I'm not to interrupt you, but think about $10 over spot. We're not paying $10 over spot for Eagles right now. That is, this owner probably knows something more than the rest of us, maybe. But if this restaurant owner is willing to pay $10 over spot, that is huge.
Yeah, I don't think he's paying $10 over spot if he gets to give you food back. He's not paying $10. I mean, I don't know.
Well, that's still a good value.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really a good value.
Yeah. But he's making a lot of profit on the food, right? I mean, let's be real here. But it's a good sign. I mean,
exactly. Yes,
it's a good sign. And then I have to wonder, since let me look at my American Silver Eagles on them, say that they're worth $1, right? It says $1 US.
$1 face, yes, yeah.
I was wondering. I was like, I wonder if this guy's only reporting $1 worth of sales each time he takes an American Silver Eagle, but that's none of my business, and I won't go there.
I mean, but if someone is trapped for cash and they need to get something, you know, we all need to eat. I mean, I think that's a great way to, you know, trade. I mean, we need to see more of this. I would love to see more of this. I mean, even if it's just for trade and not straight up buying it, Ron, but, you know, I would, you know. That's awesome to see that, you know.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. Do you think a person can ever have too much 90% silver? Are there some people out there? I mean, you know, I know at night that you know, some nights you throw rose petals under your bed, but most nights you like to throw a handful of your Washington junk silver quarters. Does there get a point where it becomes too much, where a guy can have or a gal can have too many 90% coins?
Absolutely not, because it's, you know, you can stack them in bags, you can stack them in medicine balls, like I showed you earlier on. You know, I can show you again. You know, there's $58 within that medicine ball. It don't take up much room. So the simple answer, no, I don't think everybody can have too much. You know, you know, I'm still stacking it, you know, because I think it's going to be drying up, and, you know, the more you have, the better I think you're going to be off. I mean, and that's not trying to be a sales pitch here. And you know, it don't matter to me where anybody buys it from, as long as they get it for a good, fair price. That's my message.
Let me make this very clear. Coin Shop Chris is not selling you anything, right? You just love 90% silver. I mean, you changed your name. you changed your name to Coin Shop Chris, right? And we take out your middle name, you're just Coin Chris. But I mean, you love this stuff, no doubt about it.
This is my go-to. Yes, I have other stuff. I have 10-ounce bars. I got 5-ounce bars. Yes, I have it. I just don't stack a lot of gold. I'm kind of like you, Ron. I got some gold mining stocks, but yeah, 90% silver. When I first got one in my hand, I guess it was when I was a little kid, my grandfather gave me one, and it just felt different. It sounded different when it bounced on the floor or the counter. And he explained to me it was real money. The stuff we have out there today, the quarters and dimes we have out there in circulation today, they're not worth anything. I mean, what can you buy for a regular dime? Here, a silver dime is melting for about $2.28 or so. I mean, that's a silver dime. That's why they took it out of circulation, because it costs too much to mint these. I mean, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, and some of these dimes I paid $1.50 for one. Some of them I paid $2 for. Some of them I paid 95 cents for. That's why I say it's better to cost average. If we see a dip in silver, this is going to go down a little bit. The premiums might stay up though, but they will come down eventually too. I mean, it's just based on the market of what, I just don't want to see this stuff get back up to 35, 37 times face. And I think we will get there eventually. It's just a matter of time.
It feels like it'll be the first thing to go next time that we get a big spike in demand for silver. I mean, if right now I'm getting reports from you, I'm getting reports from Pimbex that it's I think very conservatively, we can say it's a challenged market. It's under a lot of stress. It will be the first thing to go, right? I think it'll probably be that, and then American Silver Eagles, and that's what we'll have to look forward to. What do you think about this idea that being able to buy silver now, because you're always telling me, Ron, buy more silver, Ron, buy, and I say, I got plenty of silver. I don't need to buy silver. I'll buy it more if it gets to 26.50, which I missed my last two chances. But nonetheless, this idea that right now, with this disconnect that we have between gold prices at, all-time highs doing very well, and the silver price, which is far from its all-time high, do you think that like being able to buy silver now for $30 an ounce is like the equivalent of being able to buy gold for $1,500?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the dollar on. Every time you, the viewers, myself, we go to the grocery store, everything is going up. Look what you can buy. Ask your mom and dad, they're a little bit older, of course, what they could buy for a dime back in their days, when you were little, babies still in diapers on, really. I mean, ask them what they could buy for a silver dime back then. What can you buy for a dime today? Nothing. Really. Nothing. Silver and gold have kept up with inflation. I remember my dad telling me, Ron, when he was a kid, he could buy a candy bar, and they were a lot bigger back then, for a nickel. What can you buy for a candy bar? What are they out there today? They're over $1, Ron. You go to the convenience stores, they're almost $2.
Yeah. It's easy because it's easy for us to get caught up in this like day-to-day movement in silver and gold. But the bottom line is silver and gold will keep up with inflation. And they're at the end of the day, what inflation is a loss in value in the dollar, right? I mean, and we know that, yes, I mean, I remember Chris, I remember I was born in 1970. I clearly remember 1971 in my cage that my parents kept me in. But we had a TV. We had a TV. We didn't have running water, but we did have a TV. And I remember clearly when Nixon came on TV and said that they were taking the U.S. off the gold standard, and I threw an absolute fit. Okay. Now, it's important to remember that since he did that, the dollar's lost like 99% of its value versus gold. I don't know the statistic versus silver, but I hear 98, 99%. I think especially now, in particular, that we've had this rocket ship, ascent in gold up to $2,500 an ounce. It's so important to remember, right? I mean, that the gold and silver at the end of the day will keep up with inflation. And inflation is nothing more than the devaluation of the US dollar.
Absolutely. And we got the rate cuts coming in September. We got the bricks in October. And all I'll say about politics, Ron, we got the election coming up in November. All these three things, the rate cuts, the bricks in October, and the election in November, this is going to put a huge uptick on silver and gold. And when it's gone, you know, even 1 ounce silver eagles, maples, whatever you want to say, it's going to be gone. And it's going to take about 72 hours for the inventory, what's out there on these online bullion dealers, what's left in the coin shops. And a lot of people will say, there's plenty out there. Well, if you really think there's plenty out there, when something big happens, it's going to be 72 hours and it's going to be wiped out.
Oh yeah, because I believe that wholeheartedly. Okay, and that's my truth, right? But I believe that the next time, right, we have any type of crisis in this country, and you know, there's a big list, and there's a lot of potential things, and they do happen. We don't like it. I'm not rooting for it, anything else. But the reality is, the silver is gone quick. Look what happened during C19. Look what happened during the little banking fiasco. It happened so quickly because everybody can run out to Pimbex and order a bunch of gold and silver, like in the matter of 15 minutes. What used to take in 1980, you know, and back in 1980, when I was growing up a little bit since Nixon took us off the gold standard, but I remember when silver hit $50. Yeah, sure. No, but I hear stories from many people that there were lines out the doors at the coin shops, right? That you had to get there before the coin shop opened, get in line, and hope that you were able to get in to get yourself some silver at that point. That's not the case, that because there was no online. Now people can buy up all the gold and silver much more quickly, right? The matter of hours, days, which used to take maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. The information flow and the ability to purchase the metals much more quickly will have a major impact on what is a very delicate and sensitive. You know, Chris, I've shared with you, I'm a very sensitive person, right? That's the silver market as well.
Right. And it's going to be, you know, our owner at the shop, Ron, I'm telling you, he is stocked up right now on everything but really 90% silver right now. He is ready for something to happen. He says, I'd rather have it on hand than having to try to find it. And when he's paying people to go out there to pawn shops, to yard sales, to wherever in the local area, trying to find this stuff, you know, the 90% silver up, he's doing this out of his kindness of his heart. He's not making a ton of money off this. He is making maybe 25 cents off of a dollar face, 50 cents on the $half. And that's the truth. I mean, we're paying up for it right now. If someone brought in any type of quarters or dimes right now, we're paying 22.25 face, and we're selling it for $2, $22.50 times face. So he's making a quarter per dollar. I mean, that's how tight the margins are. And when people say coin shops make all this money, the bullion dealers, no, the profit margins are so thin. We have to worry about volume. It's not the volume. That's what adds up quickly for the shops.
Yeah. What about this question we get all the time, Chris? I get this all the time. And now that I got you on here, and we're doing the world's longest live stream, by the way, but people ask all the time, well, what if the price of silver goes to $65? Who's going to buy my silver? Who's going to buy my silver? And what I tell them is, if the price of silver goes to $65, it's only going to go there because people are buying it. If people aren't buying it for 65 or 85 or 55, whatever the price is that you're afraid you won't be able to sell your silver at, if people aren't buying it at that price, then the price would come down to a price where people would buy it. Any thoughts on that, Coin Shop, Chris?
Well, yeah, look, I mean, 2011, you would probably remember this. I know I remember this. When silver hit $50 an ounce, our owner said it was coming in and was selling right back out. You know, he was making dollar an ounce. I mean, he said back in those days, he didn't have all these fancy computers like he had now. He was on the old school, mom and pop register, and he was writing tickets back in the day.
Yeah.
He says we couldn't write the tickets fast enough. Look at gold. Gold used to be $300 an ounce, Ron.
Right.
People still buying gold today at $2,500 an ounce.
So
yes.
Yeah, right. Exactly, Chris.
The answer to your question is, it don't matter what silver gets up to. Even if silver gets up to $150 an ounce, there's still going to be buyers out there, because people are going to say, I missed the boat and I'm trying to catch the ride up where it's going to go to next.
And there were go ahead.
And remember, we're talking about dollars. I cannot give financial advice, as you know, Ron, but I urge, if you need to sell, have a fast way out to spend that cash. Don't.
Right.
I see a lot of people who say to me, when silver gets to $50 an ounce, I'm cashing out. My question is, what are you going to do with the cash? You're going to go throw it in a bank and lose value there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Peter Grandich thinks it's going to be a while till we get the $85. Where is he? Silver, right? There's the old silver bear right above me. But if it does get to that point, you're right. The dollar will be on it, and I think it could happen. I'm not making, but we could be on an accelerated path of the dollar going down in value. So if silver hits 45 or 50 bucks an ounce, I agree with you 100%. It's not going to be smart to convert that into paper money, because if the dollar's on that path of going down in value quickly, it's likely to continue. So those dollars that you converted your silver from to, anyway, when you converted your silver into dollars, those dollars could likely a month or two or three or a year later be worth half as much at that point as to when you converted the silver, and the silver would have continued to go up in price as measured in those very same dollars. Correct?
Correct. Well, look at the bond market, Ron. Bonds are paying what, 5%, 4%, whatever they're paying. The past year, silver's up over 23%. Gold's up over 30% over the past year.
Yeah.
And people are out there and call it, it's a pet rock. Really? I'm happy with 23% gain. I'm happy with 30% gain in gold. That's a very good move in 1 year. Think about how many, if we can maintain that, Ron, over the next couple years, these gains, where the price is going to go. Yeah.
Well, it begs the question, right? All right, gold. They asked one of the Fed Reserve guy. I don't know if it was. I think it was Bernanke. They said, "Why does the Fed? Why do we hold gold in the United States?" He said, "It's a tradition." And I know one of them called it a pet rock. It's a tradition. Well, then why is gold at an all-time high right now? Right? Why is it being bought by every central bank? We get news now that Poland was the biggest buyer of gold during the second quarter, the biggest central bank buyer of gold. Poland, that's a European country, right? And they're right on the border between Western Europe and Russia. Why would Poland be buying so much gold, right? And why? This is the big one that I think a lot of people don't understand, and it's critical. It was one of the biggest moves that probably helped reshape where we are right now with gold. And that is, why did the Bank for International Settlements make gold a tier 1 asset, right? Why would they do that? And they did, right? And that means that it's on par with cash and it's on par with sovereign government bonds. The Bank for International Settlements is the central bank of the central banks.
Now, I'm going to answer that question in a very short way, Ron. All fiat currency dies.
Okay, well, here, we'll see. There we go.
All fiat currency, I'm going to beat that timer too. All fiat currency dies. Look at the deficit the U.S. has. Look at the deficit Japan has. Look at the deficits of all these other countries, and they don't want the U.S. dollar. You can time me all you want, Ron, because I'm done now. That's all I have to say.
You know what else that is, Chris? You know what else this is? You know what we're looking at right now? You got 10 more minutes, because we're gonna get on a super roll now, buddy. You got 10 more minutes?
I got 10 more minutes. Let's go.
Okay. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is not a timer timing the coin shop. Chris can indeed answer a question in less than 2 minutes, which he did. Like I have any room to talk with my big mouth, but nonetheless, what you're also looking at, that yellow part at the top that's slowly draining, that's the above ground silver surplus in the world right now. Because right now in our world with silver, we know there's a massive deficit. There's a lot more silver being consumed to the tune of hundreds of millions of ounces every year than is coming out of the mine. So that above ground, you can see it's going down, right? That's what's happening right now, right? That's what's going on. We got to remember that as silver investors. See that? It's almost gone. It's almost gone. I call it the silver slush fund, right? The mining sector is only putting out about 800, a little over 800 million ounces per year, right? And then recycling adds another 150, whatever, about 1 billion ounces a year. And the world is consuming like what, 1.2? And I believe I'm being conservative here. That's the reality, right? Eventually, it's almost there. It's almost there.
It's gone.
Right? It's all gone, right? It's like tick tock, because guess what? The mines aren't making any more silver. There's no plans to produce more silver at any time in the near future. Okay. And guess what? The demand for silver continues to go through the roof. Every time we turn around, everything, as I heard, I forget who it is. I wish I could credit them. They said, everything, I want you to react to this statement, Chris. Everything that silver touches, it makes better.
It does. It really does. I mean, a lot of people don't realize in your electrical panels in your house, and I don't advise anybody to do this if they're not being an electrician, but there's actually a little ring behind your circuit breakers and has a little ring of silver behind that. It's not a lot, but that's gone for how many years? You look at Samsung. You've said this on your channel, Ron, but I'm going to repeat it here. Samsung's coming out with the new silver battery. That silver's gone for 20 years. Your solar panel silver is gone for 20 plus years. And all our cell phones or computers, when we get done with the electronics, they don't really recycle the silver. That little bit of silver is in each single phone. And there's millions and billions of phones out there that get thrown in landfills. And that silver's gone forever. Are we going to start mining landfills next for this silver that's out there? And I mean, that's what's, that's going to be your new mining out there.
Oh, yeah, right.
So bad.
50 years from now, landfills, we should buy an old landfill and just sit on it. Because 50 years from now, they're going to be like the gold mines of today, right? They'll be digging in there and pulling out all kinds of interesting stuff. In history,
well, 50 years now, you'll probably be over 100 years old, Ron, and you'll be sitting in the wheelchair, still playing with your My Little Pony. So
don't open that can of worms. But it really truly is a tick tock situation. The above ground silver, and I read this recently, and I think there's some debate on this subject. So don't quote me, guys, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But there's less above ground silver, right? This stuff, right? There's less of this, and that silver that you see on Chris's screen, there's less of this. The silver that our viewer right now has, that they're looking at, there's less above ground silver than there is gold in the world, right? Gold gets mined, and people joke, say it gets dug up out of the ground and then gets put back in the ground in a vault, basically. But, with silver being consumed like it is, there's less of this above ground than there is gold. And, and to further exacerbate the situation, the world's biggest silver producer, Mexico, is becoming very unfriendly to mining companies, which just makes the whole situation that we're in right now with the silver supply deficit even more egregious.
Well, it may be because they know we're silver supply, and they want to hold their own silver. That is what's going on. They want it in their own country. There's not a lot of Mexican Libertads that actually make it across the borders. They let out very few across the border. We have a couple. I mean, those are another things so hard to get, the Mexican Libertads. And there's not a lot of supply out there because they don't want it out of their own country. And that's the fact.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've often wondered whenever I see the Mexican, nobody ever talks about the Mexican Libertad, but whenever you do see them, they're very expensive.
Absolutely. And that is why,
Huh.
because they're the hardest coin to get your hands on. I mean, they're the hardest ones to get, and you know, I mean, you don't see them every single day. We don't see them come in every single day. We have a couple that come in, people sell them, and they're gone the next day, Ron. Within the same, sometimes we can get it processed through the computer fast enough, we can get them out the same day. But you know, they're just, you know, just something our bowling dealer does not really get that many of it, because not everybody wants them, but you know, there is enough people out there that want them. And when we do get them, they're $50-$60 plus, Ron, at times.
Yeah.
And
There's
you know,
gonna be a day. There's gonna be. I mean, look, this is my truth. Our viewers, we love you. Thank you guys. We're on a very long live stream here. Thank you to everyone who's joining us, right? But my truth is that there's going to be a day when there will be silver shortages. I just believe that when I look at the big picture, when I look at what's going on with Mexico, when I look at what's going on with India. I mean, Chris, did you hear that, like, this year alone, 2024, India is on pace to import somewhere between 200 million and 250 million ounces of silver. That's just India, folks. That's not counting China, what's going on in China. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening out there in these markets.
Yeah, and it's going to be, at some point, the COMEX and the LBA will be out of business, because they're going to come to have a day and have a whole, they're going to say to themselves, what the heck just happened? We got nothing left. And when that day comes, it's going to implode, Ron. I mean, you know, they want to control the price. You know, I'm going to use Ralphie Fabrus. It's the end game. You know, that's where we're at, Ron. It's getting so close. When the LBMA and the Climax, I like to call them, the bunch of clowns that work at both places, they're going to have one day, they're going to wake up and say, we don't have enough silver to meet the contracts. And guess what? Your contracts will get paid in worthless dollars. Good luck then trying to find your silver and gold. Good luck.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about as we kind of move into these next 5 years. And if we get the silver price, I think $30 is really a big key, right? And hopefully here in the next 2 to 3 to 4 months, we're going to establish a price level above $30 that we're off to the races. I mean, silver was only above $30 for a handful of years over the last 50 years. I mean, it was above 30 for a month or two, it felt like, in 2000 or in 1980, and in 2011 it was maybe 1 or 2 years. We're going to be off to the races. But I think what people forget to think about as well with that is when silver continues, to me, that's all-time high, for all intents and purposes, all-time high territory. But there's also this big short position, and those shorts are going to need to cover their it could be like a snowball when we get above 30. And that's why I think the manipulators are trying to keep silver below $30 now, because they know when it gets above that 30, 32, 34 range, it'll be like a snowball, because you'll get more people, retail people, coming in to buy silver, which will overwhelm the market, right? The physical market. But then to add fuel to that fire, we'll also have the shorts who will need to be covering, right? And then when they see silver hit $34, and then they wake up the next day and, oh my gosh, silver's $38, I better cover my short. That means they need to buy silver. It could be a short squeeze. It could, right? I could be wrong.
Absolutely.
They never happen. But when you look at the fundamental underlying factors that we've already talked about, the supply demand dynamics for silver, and then you add on top of that the manipulation that's gone on in the markets, it's a lethal combination for what could be an extraordinary increase in price. No doubt in my mind. Could be wrong, right? Yeah, but I'm just a silver pumper, right, Chris? But that's what I see.
No, I don't believe you're a silver pumper, Ron. I think you're telling the facts. You know what my price target is. You know, we need to get back to 32.50 where we were this year. I believe once it gets to 36, it's going to be all over the news. And at that point, we could see some crazy price action.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And you know what, Chris? What nobody wants to talk about, I'll show you the big problem. Okay, go ahead, keep talking. Will you sing a song or something while I do something in the background, Chris? Jingle bells,
no,
maybe?
I won't sing those
Jingle
songs.
bells, jingle bells, jingle. Okay, we're almost there, all the way.
Do you know we're not even in September yet and you're singing Christmas songs?
Oh, what fun it is to ride in Coin Shop Chris's silver sleigh. Okay, can you see that? Did I pull up the U.S. debt clock onto the screen?
Yes, I see it. Yeah.
Okay, that's the problem, baby. That's the problem.
That's
right there to the
bingo.
upper left. That's the problem. And then if you go down a little bit, follow my yellow, if you can see my yellow cursor, okay, this is another massive problem that's just starting to get some attention, right? That we are now spending more on interest on our debt than we are on national defense. Okay, think about that. That's a big. Go ahead.
We start to interrupt you, Ron. We spent $1 billion with a B in July in interest payments that got added on to the national debt.
Well, I think it's more than that, Chris, because it right now here, interest on debt. Let's see what it says. If you go up to the
in July.
Middle top, the interest on the debt includes U.S. Treasury, bonds, government, and others. But doesn't say if that's an annual. I think no, this is an annual basis. We're spending almost $1 trillion a year, Chris, on debt, on interest on the debt. But you bring up, which is probably about $80 billion a month. But you bring up a great point, and that is all that interest payment that goes directly into the debt, right? Makes the debt bigger. Okay. And because interest rates are going higher, that interest expense continues to grow. Oh, but wait, there's more, basement dwellers. And that would be that also because we run a massive deficit, our government just spends more than they bring in. That also obviously adds to the national debt, which makes people be less interested in owning the national debt, which makes the interest rates go higher, which makes the interest expense continue to go higher. It's what we like to call a debt spiral, but let's shift gears here, Coin Shop Chris. Oh, looky here, the dollar to silver ratio. This continues to go up. Remember, Chris, not too long ago, that was at 0 when the M2 money supply was decreasing. Now, right, for every ounce of silver that's being produced this year, being mined, there's 462 US dollars being added to the M2 money supply. What does that tell us?
Tells me that we better get more silver. That's what it tells me. I mean, you always make great points, Ron. I mean, it just takes, I just don't want anybody to get discouraged out there by looking at the pile I got in front of you all today, because I'm not trying to say, oh, look what I got. No, this, I got to repeat this, Ron. This takes time to stack. This is not overnight. All right. This does not, it takes so much time. It's called sacrifices, not going out with friends every Friday night, not going to Starbucks. I don't like Starbucks anyways, but, not going to casinos, not going here, not going there. We have to try to make
that, not buying that new Barbie doll that comes out. That's what each one of those quarters, those silver quarters represents. Skipping out on a Barbie or Starbucks or something else.
And not buying the newest, latest cell phone that comes out every single year, or an Apple Watch that comes out every single year. I mean, these things last a while. And, you don't have to keep up with your friends, your neighbors across the street. They buy a new car every single year. And, we have to make sacrifices. And that is how I've done it, Ron. And again, not financial advice, but, I got people come in, Ron, and get 3 or 4 silver dimes every single paycheck. And
you know what, Chris? Chris? I got to interrupt you, because what you're talking about is so critical. People ask me, how do you get rich? It's easy to get rich. Okay. It's what Coin Shop Chris just talked about. You got to start with number one. Number one is get yourself out of debt. Okay. You got to start with number one, consumer debt. If you have a mortgage and a low interest rate, whatever, but you got to get out of debt. Number two is you got to spend less than you make. Okay. And a lot of people have a hard time with that, but if you're out of debt and you're spending less money than you make, you're automatically rich, right? Because you're accumulating wealth every day. And I think a lot of people don't realize, and I've done this pretty much my whole life because I've always been very frugal, or a tightwad, or another assortment of names that
A
my wife
cheapskate.
Yeah, there's a whole range of names, whatever. No, I'm value oriented, right? My kids
Right,
have,
yeah.
my kids have the latest and greatest Xbox. They've got I mean, I'll spend money, but I'm value oriented. And then when it comes to myself, what I've learned is like you said, right? It's okay to have a cell phone that was new 2 years ago, because guess what? You can buy it for like 30% of the price that they sold it for 2 years ago. And it's just as good as any other cell phone out there. I think what people don't realize is that if you do make these little, what you think are sacrifices, you wake up and realize that, hey, you know what? I can live a notch down, what I thought was a notch down. And it's actually much nicer because I'm not under all this financial pressure. And really, if I'm smart about it, if I use coupons, if I look for good values, whatever, life's actually much nicer down here. And then the third thing you can do is, once you are spending less than you make and you don't have any debt, you can buy the timeless store of value, silver and gold. Did I lose you?
I got you back. No,
All right.
you're absolutely right, Ron. And that's how I've done it, Ron. And and people ask me, well, how do you have so much? How does the owner have so much in inventory? He made sacrifices too to build up his inventory of silver that we have. I mean, I got people. Yeah, I got people that come in, Ron, that buy 3 or 4, like I said, 3 or 4 dimes or 3 or 4 quarters a week if we had them in stock. They have house payments. That's what they can afford. I tell people on my channel, Ron, don't be ashamed to walk into any coin shop if that's what you can afford to do, and just get yourself a few dimes, a few silver quarters, because you know what? I've shown that bottle to you all already.
Yeah.
That, like I said, that took me about 1.5 years, almost maybe 1 3/4 to fill that.
Yeah.
And that's $58 face value of quarters to stack.
Right.
So
Right. Coin Shop Chris, everyone, hopefully you can see it on your screen. This is your YouTube channel, Coin Shop Chris. I'll encourage everyone to go subscribe. Chris is probably the fastest growing YouTube channel right now in the gold and silver sector. Unbelievable accomplishment, over 2,000 subs and getting a lot of views, putting out some good quality content. So guys, go out and if you haven't already, please subscribe to Coin Shop Chris. We're going to go out to Pimbex here as well.
And guess what? It's free to subscribe too.
It's free. That's right. It's free to subscribe to Ron's Basement. If you've not subscribed, please do that as well. Let's get an update. I got a feeling, we're down $16, but we're still above 2,500 in gold, silver, 54 cents. Please support channel sponsor Pimbex. I think you'll find what I find. They check all the boxes. And I want to say thank you to channel sponsors. First, Mining Gold, Canadian gold development company with 2 multi-million ounce projects in Canada, right? A nice, safe jurisdiction. They've got gold in the ground and they're working through the permitting process. And our friends at Fortuna Mining, they're a gold and silver mining company. They're producing gold, producing silver right now in Latin America and West Africa. I want to say thank you to Silvershire and all the moderators who make this possible. And thank you to Silvershire for a very generous super chat where he says, today's super chatters get a lifetime BDA, Basement Dwellers Anonymous. That's our Sunday secret support group. Join today, not a pre-authorized endorsement. Thank you, Silvershire. And our good friend Daniel Bao, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Thank you for the super chat. Chris, thank you for being here. Any final words you want to leave with the Basement Dweller community?
Well, thank you for having me, Ron. You are a big supporter of my channel. I cannot thank you enough. And you have helped me find many subscribers. And we got a great team going here with all the subs that we have gotten. And it's just been a great run for me. I am very excited, I guess I'm overwhelmed, I should say, how fast my channel has grown, and just the support of all the viewers out there. It's just been amazing. And I'm going to say it one last time, Ron. My departing words for the day is Stack what you can afford. Don't compare your stack with anybody else's. If anybody has any questions for me, you can email me, and on all my videos, I have a link to my email address. I've helped out dozens already, Ron. You have helped out dozens of people. Let's keep it going. Thank you, Ron, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think that all the basement dwellers that are with us today, right, the ones who have endured this world record length live stream that we're doing right now, I think this is the longest one ever, but we all share a passion for the precious metals. Very nice people as well, right? So many friendships there's so many nice, good people in the silver and gold community. And, when I look at you, Chris, and what you're doing well because you're doing something that you believe in and that you're passionate about, and for lack of a better word, but you're genuine, right? I mean, yeah, I've known you for almost 2 years now. You're one of the most genuine, loving. When I call you the king of junk silver, I mean that as a big compliment. When I call you the Sam,
I know you do.
of junk silver, right? You love it, you know it. And hey, we just had a big super chat come in from our friend Patrol.
Wow.
Thank you. Wow, yeah, that's awesome. All right, thank you, Patrol. Thank you, Silvershire. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Jake from Jake's Custom Parts. Thank you, Annie Oakley, all the moderators, and of course, the one and only Silver Susie, and the one and only Coin Shop Chris for joining us, and Daniel Diaz for joining us. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow at 10. Hey, everybody, whoa, listen, quickly. If you haven't entered the giveaway, that's tomorrow, 16 ounces of Coca-Cola silver. Here's the 5-ounce bar. It'll be a 10-ounce bar, a 5-ounce bar, and a 1-ounce bar. That'll be during the 10 a.m. Central Time live stream tomorrow. Hey, Chris, we went an hour and a half. Thank you, guys.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Make sure you sign up for the giveaway.